Assessors are faced with challenges when a solar energy project is sited in one of their communities. Need to take the guesswork out of this process? We all do. The site we'll be using in this example is O'Brien Solar in the city of Fitchburg, operated by Madison Gas and Electric. This example provides assessors, DOR, and the utility companies a look at the process used to assess these properties. Utility companies, the local assessor, Department of Revenue, local planning and zoning departments, and the county help manage the transition process as these sites move from agricultural to an operating utility. One of the first challenges a local assessor may have to address is discovery. Typically, these projects are well publicized, but sometimes they can fly under the radar. Work with the departments in your municipality and county to discover pending projects. Conditional use permits and other planning and zoning applications will be made by the utility company. When a project is sited in a community, one of the first documents that are available are the lease contracts. Obtain copies of the leases from the utility company or from Laredo if your company uses that software. Conversion charges may apply when property transitions from agricultural use to commercial classification. When agricultural use stops before January 1st and a lease is in place and construction and earth moving begins, the site should be classified commercial. Even if the property will be exempt, utility property conversion charges will apply. The utility section of DOR utilizes the form UT-149 operating utility, owned or leased property. DOR is looking to see if Section 76.28 Wisconsin statutes applies. The statute provides that a company is subject to state taxation if the owner is a light heat and power company, defined under Chapter 76, or if the company has property in more than one municipality or has greater than 50 megawatts of plate capacity. Companies located in a single municipality under 50 megawatts should be locally assessed. If assessed by DOR, the utility company is required to complete and submit the UT-149 form to both local assessor and DOR. Information on the UT-149 form filed by the utility company identifies and describes the property being picked up as an operating utility by the Department of Revenue in lieu of local taxation. Let's take a look at the O'Brien Solar Facility in Fitchburg with Steve Montevideo from MG&E.
We're in the city of Fitchburg, and we're at the O'Brien MG&E Solar Facility. What we're talking about today is the construction process and the process of taking a site, evaluating its potential for solar, all the way through to the final stages of when the solar facility is producing energy and the consumers are taking the energy from the solar facility. But first we look for a good site. A good site is a site that the land use is conducive to solar, so we wouldn't want to put a solar facility where the land has some other more beneficial use for the community. The process of putting together the leases and going through and taking a look at where we would put panels to get the full production that we needed. That was a pretty quick process. I would say it took about maybe a little more than 6 months. Then it starts to go back into more detailed engineering, and you start going through the process of getting the permits and the conditional use permits to put the facility in. So we received the approvals for the project, and at that point, the company that did the development procured the equipment and constructed the site for us. That took about 8 months, I would say, total, from start to finish. And we're generating energy here now. The electricity is produced by the panels when the sun hits it. These panels are called bifacial panels. So if you look at the front of them, they look like a typical solar panel, but if you look at the back of them, they look like a solar panel as well. So these produce energy both from the light from the front and from the back. The panels are connected in series, and then at the end of the row of panels, there are cables that come out, drop into the ground, and they either go to combiner boxes, which are located at the ends of the rows, and then from those combiner boxes they go over to the inverter. At the bottom of the inverter, all these cables come in, and these inverters are converting the up to 1500 volts DC to 600 volts AC. The workhorse inside the inverter is the IGBTs, insulated gate bipolar transistors. Those are the devices that are actually taking the DC and chopping up really fast and turning it into AC. And there's a lot of power going through those IGBTs. So the control system is designed to protect those devices. So it can very quickly isolate a fault and remove the inverter from the system so that we don't damage those IGBTs or other equipment. And the 600 volts AC goes through the transformer right here. The transformer converts that 600 volts AC to 13,800 volts AC. And from there it goes on to our electric distribution system, which is the same system that our customers are tied into. So this energy right here is going to be going right through to our customers in the area. So the Soltec device is the device that actually causes the panels to track the sun. At the top is a wind sensor. That wind sensor is there for safety purposes. In the event that the winds pick up in the area, the panels will move to a safe position so that you don't end up with the panels vibrating and coming apart. What's at the bottom of here are all the instrumentation that's coming in and out, going out to the different trackers, the tracker motors. That's actually what moves the panel. The intelligence is in the device on the top here, and then there are sensors that come in. Like I said, the wind sensors, the snow sensors, there are light sensors. All that information is coming in here. So this equipment just looks like the stuff we just saw, and it is. It's just the inverter and transformer. Then over here, this is actually the main controller for the whole facility. There's underground cable that goes from here to the road, and then it's underground back to the substation for this particular array. But the underground comes up into here. This is where the meter is. So this is where the meter that's measuring all the energy that's coming out of the site. So I'd consider this this is considered the point of interconnection right here. And then it goes into a recloser, and a recloser is a breaker. So it's what actually isolates the site from the system in the event that we have a problem. And then attached to that recloser is a bunch of monitoring devices, relays, that detect faults and make sure that there's not any problems on the system. If there is a problem with the system, that piece of device right there will quickly isolate the entire solar facility from the electric distribution system so we don't cause problems for our customers. We do lease the properties. We've leased all the properties for our project so far. I think there are a number of reasons why we do that. One is that this project has about a 25 to 30 year life. At the end of that, what we will do is we'll remove these facilities and this land will go back into agricultural. And the land will be better than when we got it. The plantings underneath are there to improve the soil conditions. So the idea is that at the end of the project, the soil should be in better condition than it was when we started the project, and can be put back into agricultural use for the farmer.
Now, Amy Mercer, the assessor from the city of Fitchburg, shares her experiences from the local assessor perspective.
This is a very large multi-parcel family farm, it had been, and in agricultural use, and it has 2 home sites on it, so also class 7. And so part of the problem was it was no longer being used as ag on part of these parcels, and so you had to reclassify that. And so it could either be reclassified as commercial, in this case, because it would be an income producing property, but it also could go to exempt as a utility. And so we were missing part of those puzzle pieces to value it and decide which classification or which direction to go with that property. The UT form is very important, as we found out. And so in this case, it was the UT 149 form that the utility company would turn in to both the local assessor and the utility, manufacturing utility bureau. Some parcels are completely exempt. Some parcels are still in ag that are not being leased by MG&E, or they're in a agri-home site, class 7. And then there's a couple parcels that are part exempt and part taxable. Actually, one of the home sites is on a parcel that only part of that parcel is being leased as part by MG&E. So the part being leased by MG&E and went to the utility is now exempt, and then the part that still is not being leased is still classified as ag and home site.
How do you know if the property is an operating utility? We will show how to classify these properties and then go through the UT 149 forms. UT 149, operating utility, owned real property. UT 149, operating utility, leased real property. UT 149 NO, utility company that owns or leases real property but does not use in their operations. These should be locally assessed. The local assessor identifies land use and classification through the lease and activities on the property along with the UT 149 form process. Let's go through the UT 149 process and identify what is all involved. General information. Property owned or leased by a public utility and used in its operations is subject to state assessment under Chapter 76 Wisconsin statutes. The UT 149 form is particularly important in controlling the assessment of property subject to either Chapter 70 or Chapter 76 jurisdictions. Report to the local assessor. It is the utility's obligation to prevent a double assessment. If the sale of the project area is not reported or a lease is not discovered by the local assessor, it may result in the property being taxed both locally and under Chapter 76. Utilities can locate the local assessor by reviewing the Wisconsin Municipal Assessor List located on our website. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to keep the local assessor informed of any changes to the property. Filing requirements. The due date is February 15th and to be filed by February 15th of the assessment year. If submitted after February 15th, it may be subject to local taxation. Filing the UT 149 by February 15th was a critical step in this example in Fitchburg. The subsequent shift from agricultural to commercial and the issuance of a conversion charge is a process assessors will be faced with. Assessors should understand the conversion charge process and work with OTAS and the Utility Bureau to make sure the conversion charge is issued appropriately. The utility must submit a completed UT 149 for leased or owned property used in operations. The property should be booked in accounting records as operating property as allowed by Wisconsin PSC. This can include a new lease or purchase of operating property or property currently leased or owned and just shifted from non-operating to operating. The tax parcel number. Each leased property reported must include a tax parcel number. DOR will return any form submitted without this number. Send completed forms to the copy to the local assessor, a copy to Wisconsin Department of Revenue at the address shown here on the screen. Keep a copy for the corporation's records. If you have any questions, contact us at the information on the screen. Another point assessors should consider is valuing the lease of this property, should the property be assessed locally as commercial. The assessor in Fitchburg explained that the property value derived came in at approximately full value of ag land as compared to the lease. Therefore, Amy was comfortable with the assessment should she have had to use it. Tips for assessors. Use Laredo to search for a lease or a register of deeds for a recorded lease. Work with planning and zoning departments as leases may apply prior to permitting. Since the predominant use was no longer agricultural as of January 1st and it was income producing, it was shifted to commercial. Recognize that land no longer used as agricultural would receive a conversion charge. Assessment notices may go out with new commercial value and include a conversion charge notification if the UT 149 form is not provided. Work with the utility company, zoning, planning, and county to avoid double taxation. Here are some questions to DOR that were asked as a result of this project. Is it too late to file the UT 149? Answer is no. Was the property included as operating property in the rate base by PSC? Answer in this case was yes. Can a parcel be partially exempt and part taxable? Yes. This property had certain parcels that were being used fully by the utility, but under other parcels that were only partially leased. Who decides if it is assessed as a utility, DOR or the local assessor? Once the UT 149 is received, DOR decides if it becomes utility property. Who decides if it qualifies as utility? DOR makes that decision. What chapter in the Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual discusses utilities? Chapter 18.